Hola, Chewy.
Hey Lee, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Chewy. It's sunny my side. How about you?
It's early morning for me.
Good stuff. Welcome everyone to RPA Trends 1, scaling RPA. Today we're specifically going to be talking about what is kind of stopping companies from scaling their RPA. The last stat that we saw, about 50% of companies, large companies out there, have implemented RPA into 3 or more functions. And the latest stat I saw is that about 56% of large companies have now put automation initiatives into 4 kind of areas. So it's definitely growing, but maybe not as fast as some people suspected. So the good news is we've got Chewy, our VP of Intelligent Automation, our expert, who's just going to voice his opinion on some of the reasons out there which may account for why this is happening. So just firstly, Chewy, I just want to put out there, just broadly speaking, do you have anything which accounts for the slower growth of RPA as some people expected?
Yeah, there are many reasons, right? And it's different company to company. Realities are different at the organizational level. Sponsorship is critical, right? So if you don't have the right sponsorship, a proper top-down approach to RPA becoming strategic to the digital transformation of the enterprise, most likely velocity and speed of scaling automations, it's gonna be impacted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's. Thank you for the overview. I think that gives us something just to kind of try and maybe pinpoint a few of the reasons, which is like you touched upon, which are stopping companies out there, such as gaining sponsorship, which links directly into something we've spoken about before in the past, citizen developers in companies. And like you mentioned, the digital trend, which is kind of taking hold across the workplace and organizations across the world. Whenever companies are looking to implement new technology, obviously you have the relevant IT experts and subject matter experts who can do that. But they're also looking to kind of integrate it more across the workforce and have more and more people up to speed. What's the generic feedback that you've heard or you've discussed from your contacts? Is that a big reason out there which is stopping RPA scaling more and more and more than we thought it would?
As I said, right, there are multiple reasons, and of course, Lee, right on. Citizen development is one of them. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a clear strategy about what citizen development means for you, you're not going to be able to reach out to all the right audiences and organizations, departments, and functions. Citizen development must become part of your strategy. The question is when, and also the question is how. Citizen development is not about throwing licenses to people so they go ahead and do whatever they want. Citizen development is about empowering employees to understand, believe in RPA, be trained in RPA, and then figuring out a governance model around citizen development. So citizen development does not become a bunch of isolated efforts at the employee level, but it's actually an ecosystem that can really accelerate the pace of automations in organizations.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I've definitely heard people speaking about silos, specific individuals, certain subject matter experts who can help maintain things, make sure everything is doing as it should. But obviously, if they leave or if they're not, they go on annual leave, they're not available, it's very easy for things to kind of break down and consequences to snowball. Do you find you get a lot of feedback from that, or is there an opportunity missing from organizations to kind of spread citizen development across the board, or do you think it's suitable just to kind of focus on a few people in the team or the department who can then obviously look after other areas as well?
Citizen development is all about governance, right? So in order for citizen development to become real, you need to drive it from the COE. So if you don't have an automation COE in place, where it's driven, where you have procedures, where you have workflows, where you have a training team, a maintenance team, you need to have the end-to-end framework to manage the life cycle of any given automation. So once that structure is ready, and once that structure has been able to set the rules of the game, then you're in a good stage to start picking on what we call business champions or subject matter experts with some level of expertise on what automation means. So you can, as I said, right, you can give away licenses, empower them, but how do you keep it connected? That's the big challenge. How do you keep it connected to the larger automation strategy? Because at the end of the day, citizen development sometimes breaks through time, slows down as well, right? And why citizen automation can slow down? It's all about return on investment, right? So when you initiate an automation program, you start picking on those opportunities with large return on investment.
Yeah.
Once you have done most of your automations that drove a lot of savings to the organization, you need to understand that citizen development is about small incremental savings through time. Yeah. So don't expect a business case for citizen development to look like a COE-like automation development. That's key. And how do you make sure that you keep your teams committed to future automations? It's very basic thing, right? Small incremental automations that in aggregate are gonna look like one of your big automations driven from the COE.
Yeah, that's a great perspective that you just gave, Chuy, and it kind of relates to the mindset that scaling RPA becomes really complex the further and further you go, whether you're jumping into extra functions or whether you're trying to automate more complex tasks. And I just want to get your perspective, because you spoke about Center of Excellence. Is that something which is kind of the easy win for organizations, or do you think that there's potentially also what's happened is that they've implemented RPA and maybe it's quite central to specific functions or departments, and they haven't really branched out to see if they can scale it? Obviously, there's the costing to do that.
Yeah, when I think about COEs, I don't think about adding additional bureaucracy to the organization, right? Because sometimes you can relate, now we have a central team and they are gonna control everything and they're gonna own everything. It's all about creating a very agile team layer in the organization that is formed of subject matter experts, developers, architects, champions. And I go back again to sponsorship. Any given COE needs to have a sponsor, right? It needs to be called out. And that's the C-level executive that is gonna be the evangelist, right, to the rest of the executive team in the C-suite. And that's critical. So it's all about setting the right governance, the right skills in the team, the right processes, so you really manage end-to-end life cycle time of automations. And last but not least, you need to have processes. So processes that are really clear on how to reach out to organizations, how to gather ideas, and how to take something from idea to production, right? And then keep it up and running in production. So yeah, COE needs to be agile, needs to be a team layer, but it's critical to scaling automations in any given team.
Yeah, I mean, when you hear about Frankenstein creations in regards to they've put RPA automation into certain processes or functions, and they've had hurdles to jump over, and it hasn't really worked. And whenever you introduce something new, there's always a fear factor, and people tend to then kind of lose sponsorship, I guess. And things get a little bit complicated, not just in regards to the technology, but also the office politics in the workplace. You mentioned you're definitely looking for C-suite executive support on this, and there's definitely a lot of information trending about how the two kind of positions stepping up in that regard are the Chief Information Officer as well as the Chief Sustainability Officer. Is that generally what you're finding in the organizations that you're dealing with, that you want someone at the C-suite level, and often those are the guys and girls who are kind of providing the support?
Yeah, it's C-suite and not necessarily your CIO. It's C-suite, but normally someone from the business, either from the innovation side, continuous improvement, digital transformation type of person. And something that is very important is there's always this debate, Lee, about RPA being too tactical. And when I say RPA's benefits come from quick return on investment. So yeah, it has a tactical side of it. And yeah, in many cases, RPA is tactical. But the incremental tactical changes, if you do it right, if you do it according to the roadmap, in aggregate become your strategic. So it's how do you shift from something that sounds like tactical, but at the end, right? If you do it right, if you have the right roadmap, if you have the right COE, this layer of automation and support becomes strategic to your digital transformation as an overall.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Chewy. And that is a super important point. I think that a lot of companies, organizations, they're really looking at RPA as a kind of solve all their problems solution. And then when they look at the opportunity to provide kind of end-to-end, roll RPA out end-to-end, suddenly it becomes a little bit more difficult, and maybe it's not quite what they're expecting. I just want to get your take on that. Is RPA, I mean, it's super easy to integrate, and then maybe people start, looking for a North Star and how they can really kind of get huge return on investment, whereas sometimes maybe it's just better to keep things simple. So do you think RPA really has a place to, you provide center of excellence and to roll it out end to end across the organization to really add value?
Yeah, more than 80% of the C-suite executives that have been around RPA today recognize the value of it, right? They recognize the value of driving automation at different levels, driving automation across different functions. In the old days, it used to be very focused on your back office. We're seeing an increased growth in functions like marketing, like sales support, reporting. So RPA is moving as an overall, once your back office has been automated, to more of your middle and front office. So yeah, it definitely has a place. As I said, something that is very important is to eliminate this debate about RPA being so tactical and really focus on how do you drive the tactical so it becomes the strategic.
Yeah, and just to end, Chewy, on that point, right now, the strategy that a lot of companies are going for is to try and engage with customers more, and as well as employees. More and more people obviously are, not fulfilled by their work. we need to engage better with customers and their digital experience. Do you have any stories you can share in how, you know, RPA has been able to achieve that?
Yeah, there are many success stories, Lee. Right? Actually, we have a client that it all started with an idea. It all started with a pilot and a proof of concept. The organization, which is a mid-sized organization, said they were not sure about RPA. So they decided to go for a number of pilots in different organizations. Then they realized that it made sense for them, created this thin layer of center of excellence that would be the champion and the driver. They had a very strong change management approach to this. So even sitting down with employees at the desk level, explaining automation is not here to remove your job. Automation is here to get rid of the mundane, repetitive, boring tasks. And the idea of really creating a culture about automation, and it was not easy, right? It's been 2 years since that journey started. And right now, the organization has chatbots in production, has embedded some machine learning engines to certain automations, more than 20 automations in production as of today, and they keep growing. They're thinking about now adding citizen development to their strategy. So it's real, right? You can see it, you can feel it, and it's great to be part of those client journeys. It has been, you know, just an outstanding experience for me.
Great to hear that, Chuy. I think we've pretty much covered some of the, you know, the specifics of what is stopping companies from scaling their RPA. There's definitely massive opportunity for growth, and I think that story you just told highlights that. Bye.
Thank you, Lee.